Sweet. So now we have a fully functioning nav bar. We have 3 columns. We've added in the free JavaScript that allows for a little bit of interactivity onto our page. And it looks pretty good on mobile-sized screens like we would see right here. That's a big come up for free, free 99. And it's one of the things that makes Bootstrap so awesome. So the next thing I want to look at, and I'm going to go back to my slide right here, my front-end framework slides. We just took a look at nav bars. How to create nav bars, how to make them look like we want. But I customized the nav bar before we copy-pasted some Bootstrap code into there, and I'm going to go back and customize it again really quickly before we move on. So right here, where it says the anchor tag for the nav bar brand, it says nav bar. Let's replace that with what we had before, which is silly animals. And then we have a couple things for home, link, etc. Let's change that home to, actually we'll leave that at home. And let's change the link to contact us. And then there's a nav link right here that is disabled. I actually don't see any need for a disabled link in your nav bar right now. So I'm going to get rid of that disabled class, just right there. And I'm going to change this disabled to sources, or about us, or whatever you want to call it there. I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to add one more just because that's what we had before. And I'm going to change sources to about us. Or just about. Let's go with about. So now, when we pop it into a big screen, it should look like this. Ta-da! Silly animals, home, contact us, sources, about, and we have a little search bar in here that we can type whatever we want. Shakira, Shakira. Okay? Lovely. And when we click search, it refreshes the page. Should at least. Maybe not. It's all good. So, the next thing we're going to look at, one of my favorite things, buttons. Buttons are awesome. Buttons are the interactive part of any web page, and styling buttons can get really annoying if you spend a lot of time making them look good. Fortunately, Bootstrap gives you a really easy way to do buttons. Right here, all you have to do is give them a couple different classes. The first class for any button is the BTN class, which just turns it into a button. And then you can give it a couple different styles to change the role of the button. Let me give you an example. Right below the asterisk life div, this little section right here, this fluid container, I want you to add some buttons right below your 3 columns. Okay? Let's make another div with the class equals row. Okay? And then inside there, let's create a button, just like this. And let's give that text of button primary. Now you can see right now, this button does not look very nice. It's not styled very nicely. Doesn't look that good. It's got no additional styles because we haven't given it any of the Bootstrap classes yet. So the first thing we should do is whenever you have a Bootstrap button, the first class you give it is BTN. BTN for button. Automatically, it rounds the edges. It adds a little padding. And in general, it just looks a lot nicer. But we can also give it specific classes, like a primary button, by typing in BTN-primary. That changes the text color, and it changes the background color. It just makes it look like a primary button. Now that's obviously not the only button we can use, but you can see you have some nice little hover effects. It changes the button itself. It just makes it a lot nicer. So below this on line 51, I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to make like 4 or 5 of these buttons because we're going to change it up. So right after this, make some space and just paste a bunch of these in. Let's go with 4, let's go with 5, 6 for now. Okay? Now you see all of these buttons stack up right here, but they're all the same thing. We can do a couple different kind of styles, and all you need to do is go to Bootstrap and click on the button category right here to find about all the different things you can do with buttons. You can see the different classes they give here specify the layout and styling of the button. So back in your HTML, let's change the second one to secondary button. Button-secondary. And immediately it changes the style of the button. We also have button-info. I'm going to change, by the way, secondary. Info. Button-warning. Button-danger. And you can even do button-outline-primary too. And you'll get a button that looks like this. When you scroll over, it looks like a normal button. But otherwise, it's an outline button. So all of these buttons we get for free. All these hover effect stylings. Everything here just comes by adding two simple classes. The BTN class and the BTN dash, whatever we want to use. And by the way, play around with them as much as you want. I don't really use the link button very often, but you can also use that one too. These are the buttons that I use the most. And there's so many things you can do with buttons. I just want you to look through them and check them out. If you want to make them large or small, you can do the same thing. Go to this. I'm going to go to this warning button. Since warnings are usually big. Let's go BTN-LG. And obviously this warning, automatically this warning, it's huge. Since these are all in line with it, the size of the row actually changes the rest of the buttons also. So be aware of that. And if I change this button outline primary to BTN-SM for small, it gets tinier. See that? Just an interesting way to look at different buttons. But don't worry too much about that right now. Most of the fact that they're lining up is only because I put them in a row inside my container. So we usually won't do that, but that's just a good way to show you how we can use buttons to make cool little effects. So yeah, if I were to take out this row right here, for instance, get rid of this row, you can see they automatically change their size back to whatever size they automatically adjust to. And we can see that the large one, the medium one, the small one all look very different. And so just take note of that when you're applying certain button styles. They're going to look different depending on what you do. Cool? But I'm going to put them back in a row just so you can kind of see how it looks. And ta-da. Okay. So I'm going to save this. Let's get into, let's actually get into some typography a little bit because I breezed over the typography. Let's go into that really quickly because that's a lot of fun. So I'm going to paste it into Slack and we'll go to the next part of the next video.